Tyson's kindly given a bit of an overview of the background for the Mornington rezoning project. So like he said, $1 million was allocated for the larger tackling Phylloxera program. From that, we took out $420,000 to rezone the Mornington Peninsula. And the MPVA and in-kind the contributions such as today, providing data sets, contacts, that kind of stuff, have also been a great help for us. So the key steps for our rezoning project, this is kind of following on from our forum, I think it was 6 months ago. Over the course of the past 6 months, we've gained industry support through the MPVA. Online grower assessment of Phylloxera risk, you should all be fairly up on what that was. If not, then could you please get onto it? Property access over the past 3 years, we kindly asked during that online grower assessment survey if we can access your properties, and for the majority of it, it's been a yes, which has been very helpful. And also the 2008 Vineyard Survey Program was a great success. As Tyson alluded to, no Phylloxera was found. I'll get further on to show you how many hectares were covered, how many properties exactly we did over the course of that. Looking forward, for 2018-19, as Gary also suggested, we're going to be implementing new regulations to make it a PEZ or an interim PEZ. And Daniel will go over a couple of scenarios and the ins and outs of how the regulations work. The 2018-2019 Vineyard Survey Program will begin in December, early December. We're going to try and fit in as early as we can in the horticultural window to get Brendan, who's our contract member, in there, and hopefully have it going up till Christmas. If we can finish it by then, we will. If not, we'll have a bit of a break and then come back early January. And we should be finishing much earlier than we were this year. I think we were very edging onto vintage this time. We'll also be performing amenity vine surveys. I'll go over that in a second. And a compliance program for the new regulations will be in act. We do have contingencies in place or being developed for Phylloxera if it is detected. That'll include a standard letter, so we'll have communications out for all the growers in the area. The surveys will continue for that current season. We'll continue our comprehensive coverage of the area, and any detections, like I suggested, will be communicated to industry and any key collaborators. This will mainly be funneled through the MPVA and then out from there. We also have and will be ongoing is meetings of industry representatives to discuss any of the response options and what we'll do about it. So this could be property-based containment, a large PIZ, smaller management areas. It's sort of yet to be determined and is still in discussions. Tyson showed you before the MPVA data, and this is the AgVic data, which mirrors it very closely. So for our previous survey period, that's the vineyards that we hit. And you can see the yellow area is our proposed PEZ area, which follows the GI of this district. In our BioWeb database, we've logged all these properties that have been surveyed, and that comes down to by property basis, where we've tried to map out the fence lines of each property. Each one has its own hectares and its own tag. So we've got a fairly comprehensive system of being able to work out where we're going to go in the next coming season, where we've been, and each one of them will have when the survey's taken place, key contacts, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if this was mentioned in the previous forum that we had, but I'll reiterate. These soil survey programs are based on the National Phylloxera Management Protocols. So that includes the annual surveys of all properties over the years, amenity vine surveys, records of these surveys maintained, which will be our database. And this will hopefully stem to recognition from state and national biosecurity regulators and a PEZ. So Agriculture Victoria and MPVA work quite closely together to get out the grower survey. And also prior to that, I think the MPVA had a vote to see about the rezoning program. and it was highly positive, with 162 of 170 total growers saying they were keen to support the program, which is really fantastic. I've mentioned about the consent has been required, so once again reiterating, if you haven't filled out the online survey, if you get it back to us, we need that consent to be able to perform these surveys, and it's quite important. The implementation of the Phylloxera soil survey. So we helped, well, the MPVA established their steering committee, and they've been a great resource and a great driver of these surveys. We couldn't do it without them. They've engaged both Agriculture Victoria, local council, and all your industry representatives. We currently have hired contingency staff in AgVic at our offices. They're helping with finance, mapping, and getting consents. Some of you may have heard from some of our staff. And also communications and awareness, which Paul will also go over. Our survey contractor, which most of you should be fairly familiar with, Brendan. He's very passionate, very assertive man. He's an expert in viticulture and phylloxera biology. He's been doing it for 15 years, I believe. He's very passionate about phylloxera, finding it, rezoning. He's been previously involved in all that Western Victoria rezoning that Gary mentioned, and also he was up there in Queensland doing their table grape growing areas. We undertook him, with the help of Catherine, who you'll talk to later, a comprehensive training of him and his staff. For AgVic processes, we're regularly auditing the contractor, to ensure that he's disinfesting correctly onto, off the property. He's following all our internal procedures. And we've got weekly on-site oversight of the surveys happening, making sure AgVic have a presence for the majority. We also have Brendan's reporting weekly on which property he's gone to, who he's been to, and how everything's progressing. So we have a fair level of oversight. Brendan's very good and he's very passionate, but AgVic also maintain a nice, strict protocol system. This is some of the photos we would have shown you last time. We have very highly strict disinfestation on and off the property protocols, and they're just some photos of some of the training that's been done. The soil survey process, we have a frequently asked question, little infograph for any of you who aren't familiar with how it's been taking place and what does take place. So the actual digging of the roots, looking at it. I'm sure Catherine will give you a bit of an overview as well. So for any of you wanting further information, it's on the MPVA's website. So I mean, the final result of the survey process, as you can see from our little graph, which I think has also been being pushed out thanks to Cheryl each week as we've gone through. Over the course of 11 weeks, we've done 1,029 hectares, and that's over 224 properties. We started off with the larger properties, I think in the north, working our way down. And as you can see, it really tapered off to sort of 15 properties, totaling 21 hectares in that last week. So a bit of a clean-up of any properties that may have been missed. And I believe we've got a very comprehensive spread across the Mornington Peninsula. So Daniel's going to give you a very more comprehensive overview of the industry operations. However, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of a taster at the start. So there's going to be PEZ conditions for host material entering the Mornington Peninsula, and this is going to be enforceable. Some products may be prohibited from entry, so grape bins, equipment and machinery, but you can apply for permits to receive host material into the Mornington Peninsula. And like I said, Daniel will give you a nice overview of what does and doesn't meet these specs. PRZ conditions will remain for host material exiting the proposed PEZ. So it's PEZ coming in, PRZ going out. And this includes restrictions for all viticultural equipment and plant material. In the case that you do want to apply for a permit, you can contact our team at marketaccess.ecodev.vic.gov.au. I'm not sure if that we'll be able to provide that on the MPVA's website. It's on the protocols there as well. So, and also if you've got any questions, send it to Market Access. So I mentioned previously we'd be performing an amenity vine survey. So it's going to be conducted year 2 and possibly year 3 if needed. We're going to target sort of household blocks, wineries, and any amenity areas. The aim is to survey 380 to 500 vines. That's what our statisticians have told us is necessary to be confident. And it's going to be an awareness campaign that I'm sure Paul will be able to allude to. And yeah, if we require it, we will also do it in year 3, but that's mainly aiming to get it done in year 2. And I think that's all for my area. I suppose quickly put it for any quick questions, if anyone's got any really pressing questions for myself. Otherwise, we can move on to Daniel throwing some scenarios at you. All good? All right, thank you.